Hello everyone, patching into part 2 of the third Winter 2020-21 update from GavsWeatherVids.com. So we did part 1 of the third winter update yesterday. On Sunday, about looking at things like sea surface temperature anomalies, solar activity, ENSO, what's going on with Arctic surface extent, and all of that kind of thing, the QBO, etc, etc, etc. That was in part 1 yesterday. Part 2 of our winter updates is analogs based, but this week we've got analogs with a bit of a twist, because this video and this update, the second part of the third winter update, is going to be an outside of box special, and the presentation that you're about to see has been created by my good friend Richard Traut. So I'll talk you through it, but basically all of the work for this particular update and video has come from Richard. So if everybody can say thank you so much to Richard Traut, my very good friend, for the presentation that you're about to see for this year's outside of box update, then that'll be absolutely fantastic. And thank you so much, Richard, for the data and for the update that everybody's going to witness in a moment. Just to say, but as always with long range stuff, going to be quite a longish video, so if you can't watch it all in go, then the video will be kept on the channel indefinitely, and also be placed on the winter updates page, received with a written summary going over everything that we discuss in the video, and I'll get that up for you this evening. So also thank you so much to Richard for the GIF as well, the winter updates GIF that you'll see at the end of the video, starting off of course with our classic winter is coming picture from Game of Thrones. So yeah, we always like to have that as a little bit of an in-joke in at least one of the winter updates, because indeed winter is coming. And this is what it's all building up to, of course. All of these individual updates are building up the picture forensically, week by week. We gradually fill in the canvas until we have our picture created, and that'll be when we release the GWV's winter forecast. And I announced yesterday in part 1 of third winter update that the winter forecast is actually going to be released on Wednesday, the 2nd of December. Wednesday, 2nd of December will be the day that we release GWV's winter forecast, and all of these updates are gradually building up the picture to that forecast. So yeah, big thank you to Richard, and I think with that, we better get on with it. So I shall move you over to our presentation, and we shall begin. So here we go, Ben. Richard's Outside of the Box, Winter Edition 2020 for GavsWeatherVids 2020. Hi everyone, this is the 2020-21 Winter Out of Box Special. I try and keep these as simple as possible, but useful, as they do have references to past winters. I'm not sure if some of these analogs will already have showed their hand, perhaps, or not, depending when Gav airs this, as you see what I mean. So what is this one all about? Well, some weather folk look at signs around 9 to 12 months before the following winter. Some look at nature, berries, etc. I'm just looking at data recent and past from 1900 onwards. Earlier this year, the centering temperature, the CET, between March and April jumped by 3.7 degrees. March CET for 2020 was 6.7. April CET for 2020 was 10.4. So I am looking for jumps of 3 to 4 degrees maximum from March to April. Here are the years out of a possible 120, including 2020. Remember, for this outside the box, we're only going back to 1900. We're not going back into the 1800s. So again, here are the years of out of a possible 120, including 2020. We will see what happened the following winter soon. So the years are 1914. I should just highlight these for everyone. The years where we have this 3 to 4 degree jump from March to April are 1914, 1919, 1926, 1930, 1931, 1939, 1942, 1943, 1952, 1958, 1965 did this as well, 1970, 1971, 1975, 1976, 1979, 1984, 1985, 1995, 1996, 2006, 2007, 2009, and lastly 2020. Of course, we know not what the winter that follows that will bring. Okay, so they are our starting point years, if you like. As I said earlier, I wanted to keep this one simple, so Gav has a smaller recording time, but still something interesting to show. I then looked at those 24 years worth of data to be similar to 2020, so next all years would need the February to be colder than January CET, as happened in 2020. January 2020 had a CET of 6.4, February 2020 had a CET of 6.3. That left us with 12 years. Now it's getting interesting. So we have basically halved the years. We have basically halved the years that we are looking at. We have more though. Next I looked at years with La Niñas, weak or borderline. So to get these down to single figures, I've also looked at the solar cycle, as I believe they do have an influence on European winters, as well as near as minimum to past minimums. This left us with... Okay, these are our key years then from Richard's presentation. 1965, 1976, 1984, 1996, and, of course, 2020. So they are our key years based on Richard's outside-the-box methodology. Now we would look at the following winters. So that would be, and these are of course the key winters for this outside box presentation, winter of 1965, 1966, 1976, 1977, 1984, 1985, 1996, 1997, and if we was able to, 2020, 2021, crystal ball time. Okay, so let's have a look at these key analog winters. So this is how December 1965 is looking. So let's have a look at December 1965. Here we go. It's an unsettled, cold and wet month with below average heights over to the north of the country and above average heights to our southwest. Winds are in from a westerly direction. So it's an Atlantic-driven December, that in 1965, but it is also quite cold with some wintry potential. January 1966 does get more interesting though, with below average heights being pushed southwards and above average heights building to our north. Winds tend to go in more to an easterly direction with that, and so yes, there is a particularly cold easterly outbreak during the first half of January 1966. The rest of January gets milder though, I think. February 1966 does continue to have northern blocking as well, but it has below average heights, low pressure in off the Atlantic into northern Europe. Winds are coming in from a westerly direction. That's a milder February, but also quite wet. The main point of cold with winter of 65-66 is like from Christmas 65, which was cold, up to New Year, and then the first half of January 1966 as well. Second half of January gets milder, and then February is generally quite a mild and also quite wet, wettish sort of month. The overall winter of 65-66 reanalyzed looks like this. So it does have a northern blocking signal with high pressure up towards Greenland. Lower pressure tends to be to the south. Winds tend to be coming in from an easterly direction. So quite unsettled and also quite cold. But remember, the cold is limited to a particular period, like from the second half of December through the first half of January. The next winter is the winter of 76-77. So let's have a look at that. This is how December 1976 is looking. Actually, December 76 does have northern blocking with high pressure within the northern latitudes. Lower pressure is through Western Europe. So this is quite a cold and unsettled December in 1966. Quite a cold and also unsettled month. January 1977 continues to have northern blocking, but the blocking shifts more towards the Canadian side of Greenland. That sends this trough of low pressure down into eastern America, and of course January 1977 is a brutally cold month for much of northern and eastern America. It is brutal cold there. For us, we're sort of doing something like that, the jet stream, and so although January 77 has quite a coldish sort of start, actually, generally, January 1977 does turn quite a lot milder. And then February 1977, which is another very cold, brutal cold month for eastern parts of America, with again the blocking up here over Canada and towards Greenland, sending the jet stream and the cold shots down into northern and eastern America. But again, for us, we bring the low pressure jet stream across the Atlantic into Western Europe, and February 1977 is generally quite a mild month, raising the heights from the Azores into southern parts of Europe as well. So the cold with that winter is very much in northern and eastern America, where it is very, very severe. For the UK, although we do have quite a coldish December in 76, actually January and particularly February 77 get quite a lot milder. Overall winter of 76-77 looks like that, with above average heights out towards Greenland and the North Atlantic, below average heights over northern and western Europe. Look at this brutal cold trough into eastern America as well, by the way. Flurma jets doing something like that. Keep in mind, it is really December and early January that has the cold weather in this winter, and then it gets much milder as we get to February 77 in particular. Right, next we have, let's check that, next we have 84-85. So this is how how December 1984 is looking. So this one has low pressure up towards Greenland and Iceland, high pressure developing across the northwestern parts of Russia. Generally, this is quite a mild December in 1984. It's generally quite mild, often quite wet as well. Winds tending to be coming from a southerly southwesterly direction. However, it gets much more interesting in January. This is January 1985, and look at this big northern blocking setting up over Greenland, with a deep trough of low pressure across northern and western Europe that pulls the wind into the east and into the northeast. And January 1985 is a very cold month. That's a very, very cold month indeed. Next we have February 1985, with below average heights to our west and also away to the east, and a ridge from the northern latitudes extending down to Western Europe. We get moderation of the cold in February. However, there is cold and snowy weather at times, so it's not as cold as January 1985, but nevertheless February 85 does have appreciable and considerable levels of cold weather at times. Overall, the reanalysis for the winter of 84-85 looks like this, with northern blocking within the northern latitudes between Greenland and Svalbard. Low pressure is to the south, winds tend to be in from the east. It is a cold winter, and especially so in January of 1985, which is a very cold month. And then we have 1996-1997. So December 1996 actually is quite a cold month, especially towards Christmas and New Year, having northern blocking around Greenland and Iceland, low pressure down towards Spain. Winds again in from the east. It's an interesting set of analogues actually that Richard's picked out for us for this outside of the box presentation. So December 1996, yes, quite cold, quite a cold month, especially so around Christmas and New Year. January 1997 starts very cold, very, very cold actually around the New Year and into the first week to 10 days of January 1997. Then it gets milder. The main thing about this January is it is exceptionally dry, with high pressure setting up over the UK and northern Europe. But notice we lose the northern blocking quite a bit, so low pressure forming up here. So after a very cold start, we do get the temperatures moderating in the second half of January of 1997. It's an exceptionally dry month under that high pressure, and then all change for February 1997, which goes very Atlantic driven, goes very mild and wet. High pressure sets up to the south, low pressure pressure forms to the north and the wind goes in to a westerly direction. And so, yeah, February 1997 is wet, mild, and also windy. Overall, the winter of 1996-1997 comes out looking like this, with low pressure to the south and high pressure up to the north. Winds tending to be from the east overall for this winter, but bear in mind it is very front loaded, with most of the cold weather occurring early on, particularly like from Christmas through New Year to the first 10 days of January, and then the second half of the winter goes exceptionally wet and mild in February of 1997. Right, so let's put all of those Decembers together then. So this is how all Decembers combined are looking for our outside of the box presentation for this year. And for all Decembers combined, it is a cold signal, with above average heights setting up to our north, below average heights setting up to our south. We will favour bringing in winds from an easterly direction. That could well be favouring a cold December outcome. You certainly wouldn't rule that out, that we would get a cold December outcome. All Januaries combined look even more interesting from this year's outside of the box presentation. So look at that. High pressure really gets going around Greenland, proper northern blocking, low pressure, and the jet stream shunts even further southwards with these Januaries. Bear in mind we have got 85 in with this, as well as 1966 and also 1997. 3 very cold Januaries. January 1977 a little bit less cold. But yeah, it looks like, you know, we do favour sending the jet stream southwards with the trough of low pressure and sticking up the ridge of block around Greenland. So those Januaries could well be favouring being quite cold and wintry. However, look what happens if we get to the Februaries. So all Februaries combined from this year's outside of the box presentation look like this. And suddenly the northern blocking goes very significantly weaker within the north. And it's still there a little bit, but it's much, much weaker. Low pressure starts pushing northwards. High pressure begins to form to our south. Winds go westerly with these Februaries, therefore. And obviously the Februaries bringing in much milder conditions overall from this year's outside of the box presentation, but particularly notably so in 1966, 1977 and 1997. 1985, February 1985, does have some quite considerable levels of cold and snow, I have to admit. And then finally, this is how all winters combined are looking from this year's outside of the box presentation. It's very interesting, isn't it? With high pressure setting up towards Greenland and Iceland, low pressure to the south. Winds tend to be from an easterly direction, so a cold winter is favoured. This is the number of snow days that we get with these winters. So you can see laying snow days for, where is this? What is this for East London? So we see that for 66, 67, which is just here, I think, possibly just there. So not too many days of snow lying for that one, actually. 76, 77. Looks like that. Again, doesn't look like there are too many. Actually, that will be 76, 77, just there, I think. 77, 78 there, 79 just there. So, yeah, it's this one just here. So, yeah, a few days of snow lying, but less than 10 in East London with that one. 85, 86 stands out like a sore thumb. Look at that. That's 84, 85, I should say. Just there. So like over 25 days of lying snow in that winter. And then 96, 97. Let's have a quick look at that. So 96, 97 would be just there, I think. So not doing particularly well, except for 84, 85. We're not doing particularly well for laying snow days, and that is probably because most of these winters do have cold periods and could be in some ways considered cold winters, but in a limited scope, and particularly so like December and especially in January, but February nowhere near as conducive to be cold and snowing. So November 1965 started with quite a bit of snow. Interesting. Yeah, that's a cold November in 1965. Winter 96-97, of course, had that big freeze around Christmas and New Year, and there was plenty of snow there. I remember it's a very, very cold New Year. I think it's really, you would say that's the last time we had a proper easterly and snowy sort of New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, probably in 1995, 1996. January 1997, yes, of course, the snow lasts from the New Year, but it does get milder later on. Exceptionally dry January. Winter 2020-21, little joke from Rich. Will it be tropical? Will we go tropo for this winter? Or will we have rain? Or will we have cold? Will we have ice and snow? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Let Richard know too in the comments what you think this winter is going to be doing. Finally, Richard sums up with this. So there we have it. Interesting, I'm sure you will agree. Notice they're all after 1950, so with the current climate. Please continue to like and subscribe to the channel and enjoy all of the winter updates. Remember, keep smiling, Richard. Okay, so that's it. That is our outside of the box presentation for winter 2020-21. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's just move over to the winter gift finally before we sign out. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed Richard's presentation. That's it for this year's outside of the box presentation for winter of 2020-21. And let us know in the comments what you thought to this, and Richard would love to hear what you think about the outside of the box presentation this year. Thank you so much to Richard for getting that together for me, and yeah, it's you know, it's something a little bit different. We always love to do a bit of an outside of the box thinking in one of our winter updates, and that's it for this year. So thank you so much to Richard for that, and also of course for the winter updates gift. So next week we're going to have the fourth winter 2020-21 update. The first thing you'll see in that is the swingometer. So the swingometer will be the first thing that you see in next week's fourth winter 2020-21 update, part 1. And you will see how this week's winter update, how this third winter update, parts 1 and 2, how that has affected and changed the swingometer, if it has. So that'll be the first thing up in the full winter update, and then of course we will go through everything else that we look at. I'm not sure what analogs we're doing next week, but there will be more analogs coming up in part 2 as well. For the third winter 2000, and by the way, this video will be placed on winter updates page this evening. There'll be a written summary that goes with it as well. For the third winter 2020-21 update part 2, thank you so much for watching. And yeah, watch out for part 4, or I should say update number 4, parts 1 and 2, coming up next weekend, Sunday and Monday, same time, same place. We'll be back with more next weekend. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to Richard for the presentation. That's all for now, and we'll see you later on. Thanks for watching.